Right, hi everyone. So I'm going to give you a bit of an intro into how I use Toggle, which is time tracking software that is free to use. There's a free version that I use. There's also some premium versions, but the free one's got quite a lot of um, different things that you can do with it, which is enough for my purposes. So I'll take you through how I use it. So here is my main screen. And you can see at the moment that it's saying that I am currently engaged in some activities for the Established Researchers Forum, which is what I'm doing. And that's part of my leadership and management category. So I'll take you through how I set up my toggle. So first off, if you go over to the left-hand side, you'll see there's got projects and clients. So clients is where I set up my main categories of activities. And this is aligned with the workload allocation model. So where we split it into external activities, leadership and management, research, scholarship, and teaching. Mine have got percentages next to them because what I do every year is I update that percentage based on what is currently in my workload model, just to give me a bit of an indicator about how much of my workload I should be spending on that particular task. In the projects option, this is where I set the particular, I suppose, more specific activities that I'm engaged with. So if I order it just by client, you can see that any activity you're engaged with, you can link it with a client. So in my case, what I have is my activities that are under external activities, those different admin roles that are linked under leadership management. And if we scroll down, there's also ones that are linked with research, with scholarship, and with teaching. So it's up to you how fine-grained you make the project. Mine are, I guess, halfway between being quite specific and quite broad. So for example, if we go on to leadership and management, what I do is I split it into my different leadership roles. And I also split it into main tasks. So for example, there's one for mentoring, there's one for sitting on the ref committee, and there's things like internal PhD examining as well. If we go down to teaching, essentially what I do is the different modules I teach on, I split my teaching into that. So what this allows you to look at, I guess manage, is how much time you're spending on different tasks. So the way you do that in practice, if I head back to today, and I'll press stop on this just to show you what to do. So essentially what you do, whenever you're starting a new task, you press on a little folder and it gives you your list of clients and projects. So it gives you all your different tasks. All you do is click on one and press play. And then when you finish that task, you press stop and you can go on to the next task. The reason I like to use this software is because if you go to the reports column, or the reports option under analyze, you can use it to actually look at how much time you've been spending on a particular task. So for example, you could look at today, you could look at yesterday, and you can put in different time frames. So for example, I could look at this year, how much time I'm spending on particular things. Obviously for this year, we're only just into February, so it's not particularly useful. But what I could also do is look at last year. And if you have a look down here at this little figure, it tells you what my split of activities is. And because I've put my percentages in my main tasks, I can essentially compare how much time I'm spending on particular things. So for here example, I'm spending slightly under what I've got allocated to leadership and management, but I'm spending slightly over on what I've got allocated to scholarship. And you can also look at that in more detail. So you can track down the different tasks. So you might want to look, for example, at a particular project. So how much time I spend on the Established Researchers Forum, for example, or how much time I spend on funded research. So if you click on that, it then gives me an indicator of where my time is going over the year in different months and the total number of hours. So I find it a really useful piece of software, just for in terms of seeing where my time's going, seeing every year whether I need to adjust where my time's going. You know, am I being strategic in how I'm using it? And essentially just to make sure you're not spending too much time on activities that actually aren't strategic or aren't useful for you. So that's how I use Toggle. Hopefully that's been helpful. But if you've got any questions, please do feel free to ask.
Thank you, Chantelle. And just to add, for anybody watching the recording, I have sort of typed up the questions and answers that we did get in the session, so you can see probably maybe some of the questions that might be coming up in your head as you're watching this may have already been answered. So you can go to our Hack Hub to see those, and I'll put the link to that in the comments. But if you do have any further questions after reading that, do just get in touch with us, and we're happy to help.